Hi Virgo, this is going to be your reading for February. Thanks for tuning in. Join me here while I shuffle, connect with your higher self and your guides, and ask them to communicate through this channel to help provide any insight with messages and information that will be helpful to you at this time. Please don't multitask while you're watching this reading. I want to make sure that you make the most out of your time here with me and that you don't miss any of the really relevant and pertinent messages that come through via your higher self. So please grab some headphones and join me here. We're going to take a look at the general energies available at this time. So this reading is relevant whenever you watch it. You might be coming across this channel months after it was uploaded. It can still work for you. Just watch through and take what you need from it. Okay. Let's take a look. Quite a few major arcana cards in your reading, Virgo. At the bottom of the deck you have Ten of Swords in reverse. We'll come back to that. But yeah, a lot of swords in the reading. So Ten of Swords reverse, Two of Swords, Six of Swords, Five of Swords reverse, Nine of Swords reverse. So there's a lot of energy around your thoughts and ideas and how you're processing them at this time. And a lot of the other cards in this reading are actually major arcana, quite a few actually. So from the major arcana cards, we have the Emperor as the crossing card in your reading. This is describing the obstacle or the challenge that you're facing at this time. The crowning card is the Empress in reverse. There's also the Wheel of Fortune and Strength and Tower and Chariot, as well as the Moon. So a lot of that tells me right away that there's a lot happening for you at this time that is very profound and really deep. I feel like there's a lot of cleansing happening for you. There's a lot of changes and transformation happening. And there's some major themes that are coming up for you around this time that are pushing you towards pretty significant and substantial changes in your inner world that is reflecting in your outer world. So let's begin here. Let's start here. You have the Moon reversed with the Seven of Cups reversed in the position of your you right now and how you see yourself. So what this is telling me here is that you are facing a lot of you're doing shadow work at the moment. Essentially, that's what I feel the majority of the theme of this reading is that you're facing a lot of parts of your psyche or elements of your nature that are emerging from the unconscious mind, where there is places that you need to expose for yourself, places that have been in the dark, that have been concealed, ways in which you have been operating in unconscious ways from old wounds, old patterns, old habits. Could be hereditary things as well here with that. That's not to sort of offset any of the responsibility into other places. It's just about becoming aware of the things that you may have been operating from places that are unconscious or where you have been unaware. And so that's being illuminated here by the Moon. And the Seven of Cups in reverse here is telling me that part of that process here of you realizing and excavating things that have been concealed and buried in the unconscious mind, it's a kind of shattering of some delusions and fantasies that maybe have been keeping you in a place of denial. Perhaps you've been maybe stuck in some self. How do I say that? If there are some ways that you've been operating from spaces that are delusional or fantastical or maybe shrouded from the truth, there is a piercing through of some of that denial or some of that the ways that you may be seeing yourself, or the way that you have been seeing yourself in certain aspects of your personality, in certain aspects of your behavior, that are being again illuminated by the light of the full moon, as a way of shining light and expressing truth about things that have been buried in the unconscious that you may not have been fully aware of, to help you come into a space of greater truth. That's coming through here with all these swords cards. I feel like this, all the energy with the swords cards in this reading are expressing ways that you are being urged to face the truth, to look at the truth, to realize the truth, and to be more truthful in general. I feel like there's an element here of you exposing or being exposed in certain ways, and that may have a harsh expression in the beginning, but it's very healing, and it's very soothing in a way that you will see over time. You may not be able to see it at first. At first, these truths that are being revealed might feel painful and disorienting and even shameful or embarrassing or uncomfortable, certainly. But over time, you will understand that truth being revealed is incredibly sweet and very liberating. But right now, it may feel discomforting, painful, and even shameful. So the Six of Swords here at the foundation is saying that in your unconscious mind, while there is that shadow work going on and there is information being illuminated to help you reveal things that have been hidden, that is in effect the beginning of a journey away from troubled times, away from pain, away from trauma, away from discomfort, away from dishonesty, and into an area of your life where you are more willing to be vulnerable to the truth. You're willing to be more self-realized, and that is taking you out of a time where you may experience trauma and difficulty in a certain way into a space where life is more calm and there is great healing available to you. Now, what's interesting in your reading is that you have both the Empress and the Emperor here in your spread. What's interesting here is that the Empress is in reverse as the crowning card position, and the Emperor is the crossing card, so that's what's challenging you. So how I'm interpreting this is that your challenge is to come into your truth, into your own personal authority, into your strength, into a space where you realize the responsibility that you have as an individual, as an independent entity that is on their own journey towards self-realization and self-actualization. And to do that, to be realized in that way, is to expose the places where you have been limiting yourself, where you've been dishonest with yourself, where you've been hiding, where you've been maybe deliberately or unconsciously separating yourself from truths that would make you have to be that responsible person, to be that space of empowerment, right? There's been behavior here, I think, where you've been disempowered through an unconscious choice to kind of hide yourself away from the truth of who you are and the responsibility that carries. And the Empress in reverse here is saying that this is a time of physical, mental, and emotional healing. It's also a time where you start to understand with greater clarity the ways in which your old patterns and conditions of behavior are actually not very nurturing to the self, and they're having an impact on your health. It's also a constriction of life force energy that impacts more areas of your life than just your kind of emotional health and well-being. It affects your physical well-being, it affects your financial well-being, it affects your mental well-being as well. So all this stuff that's coming up at the moment is helping you to heal and become more well in every sense of it. While as I've said, it may be discomforting and it may be painful even to go through this, you know very well that is bringing you to greater wellness and wholeness and greater power and greater strength of character, and that you kind of have to go through this phase right now where you are dealing with the impact or the expression of or the repression of emotions that may have been kind of suppressed and buried underneath delusion, underneath bad behaviors, underneath whatever it is, dependencies or self-limiting and restricting beliefs and behaviors. So there is a process that you're going through, and that's what I feel is expressed here with this Five of Swords reversed and the Tower reversed. There is a kind of catalyzing effect going on here where it is a little bit painful to realize that you've been hiding behind some egoic tendencies through certain behaviors and attitudes and beliefs. And that's what's being shattered now. Like the house is burning. The house is burning. But it's a sensation of you perhaps understanding and knowing that actually is what's happening. And the pain that you're experiencing is actually not really current. It's old. It's old pain from all that stuff that you've been suppressing until now. That's getting the chance to be extracted and witnessed and released. So it's actually old stuff. And you may be aware or not, you may or may not be aware that even though that pain that you're experiencing now is not actually what's going to carry forward with you. It's what's being left behind. But you kind of have to go through this uncomfortable moment here in order to get to that space where you do feel that sense of liberation and sense of self-empowerment. There is a need for kind of a purging and a detoxing, and that's kind of what I'm feeling with these cards here. There's a purging happening. There's a release from old stuff, and that old stuff that's coming up is what feels toxic or maybe painful or shameful or disintegrating. I'm hearing disintegrating. That may be relevant for someone. But again, it's a process that you're going through, and you need to understand that it's a temporary step in order to get you to a place where you feel greater health and wellness. It's just something you kind of have to go through now to kind of free yourself up from a lot of this old stuff that has been in place up till now. And so it is a pretty major shift that's happening here with the Wheel of Fortune and Strength. That's what I feel. There's a shift happening here where you are maybe just for a moment dipping back into the past in order to release and throw off things that are not necessary anymore. And in the process of doing so, you are experiencing and developing greater strength of character, but greater courage, greater wisdom, a greater development of your emotional intelligence as well. I feel the Strength card is very sublime. It's a very tantric energy. It's very much about cultivating a greater habit and a greater practice of communicating with life in a specific way that is much more mystical and deep and magical in the sense of a kind of greater connection to all that is through your own personal development process. And it's a communication, it's a style of communication with yourself and with information that comes through as a result of the energetics of the physical realm expressing what's happening in the multiple layers of the multiple dimensions of all the etheric energy that is kind of stepped down subtly through the physical form. So it's just about a healing process. And part of what I feel the need to say right here now is not to take anything too personally that you're going through, because it is kind of a collective healing that is also happening at the same time. Might be painful and uncomfortable for you, but we're all kind of going through the same thing. And we're all kind of individually cooperating to work together to kind of all arrive to the same place, which is kind of a greater consciousness and a greater awareness and a greater wholeness. So, yeah, bear with it. Be more patient. That's also the message of the Strength card, is to be patient, to have endurance, to maintain a level of self-compassion and understanding for the process, to apply a sense of purpose to the discomfort and the the shedding of layers and the purging that you're going through. It's kind of a psychedelic experience in the physical realm of your day-to-day experience of life. It's like you're understanding many things right now, and it may not make sense right in the moment that it's happening, but there is a purposefulness to it. And I think that at a deeper level in the unconscious mind, you can understand that what you're going through right now is a stepping stone to getting to a place of greater happiness and wellness. And you kind of need to deal with these things that have been kind of suppressed and buried and hidden in you for a long time in order to get to that place. And I think that's the most important thing that I could say here in this reading, is to maintain your patience and maintain your ability to be self-compassionate and understanding for what's happening, because it is getting you to a place where eventually you will start to feel better. You will feel more happy and more calm and at ease in yourself after, like, once you've got through this process of purging. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck. 10 of Swords reverse is another Swords card. Now 7 of Swords reverse, 3 of Cups, and Ace of Swords. So a lot of Swords in this reading. Ace, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 of Swords in this reading. So there is a lot of, I would say with that, and because the Ace of Swords is the last card in this spread, what that feels like to me is that you're getting a kind of deconstruction of your entire kind of mental plane. It's like reprogramming kind of your entire system. And there's and there's the Justice reverse, which has another sword in it. So I'm going to take that. So this 10 of Swords in reverse is saying, along with the 9 of Swords reverse, there is a lot of letting go here. That you're culminating an old cycle here. There's a very long-reaching cycle. I would say the Wheel of Fortune is part of that. A long-reaching cycle here that could actually encapsulate multiple lifetimes, where many threads of karmic influences are coming together all at once here, which is why maybe it feels so heavy and difficult right at this time for some of you. And there is a lot of potential here for a massive liberation, even enlightenment. I would say there's a potential here for enlightenment for some of you. You can really submit to the process with, I'd say, with Chariot and Strength here, and even Justice, the Tower as well. Like these, all the major arcana cards in this reading are saying, like, this is a really difficult and heavy process that you're in. But you have the capacity. Like, you wouldn't be under the impression of these energies if you weren't capable of actually rising up to meet it. And that gives me a lot of confidence here that you will do very well under these circumstances, even though it's really, really difficult. I know that you have the capacity here to rise up to meet the challenges that you are facing, because you wouldn't be dealing with them if you couldn't. You got to remember that. You're always only handed out what you actually are capable of rising up to meet. So with that, allow yourself to have the self-confidence to deal with what you're facing and know that you will actually come through it and succeed. But in order to do that, and that's what I feel, again, also all these swords are saying is, in order to actually master the lessons that you're being handed out right now, you need to be really fucking honest. You need to be really honest with everything that you're dealing with all of the issues that come up, with every trigger that gets flared off, with every situation, circumstance, event, person, feeling, thought, every aspect of what's happening. You need to be really brutally honest about your responsibility in it. And with that, you'll be able to clear and purge and transmute a lot of old stuff that has been limiting you and holding you back. It's all up to you. It's all in your hands. This is not trifling stuff. This is really big, deep stuff that you're dealing with here, that has, with the Justice coming out here as the final card in reverse, I would say, again, it taps back into that energy of it being a karmic situation where I feel there is so many issues coming together in one kind of complex, tangled ball of threads. And here's your chance to unravel a lot of stuff, to be able to expose your truth of who you are and come into your greatest potential. So dig deep here, really dig deep, dive into all of the energies that you're experiencing. Face with raw, real honesty everything that comes up. Don't shirk away, and don't try to hide or pretend that it's not what it is. It is what it is, and deal with it. I always say the quickest way to break through karma and eliminate karma and kind of alchemize and transmute karma is just be really real and honest about what it is. Accept what's happening, accept who you are in that moment, and that is the point at which you can transmute and alchemize and create a catalyzing change for the better. Okay, with that, I'm going to leave this first reading here. I'm going to take the Voyager deck now and do another spread using the same holographic mandala layout. We're going to look at some other forces at play, karmic and spiritual forces that are at play. Hopefully we'll be able to reveal some more blind spots if that is needed to come through. And we hope also that your guides and your higher self will provide some practical information, practical advice for how to best work with the energies that are at play. So send your energy into the deck so I can get really clear messages for you. One more shuffle. Okay. Priestess at the bottom of the deck. Yeah, again, cold, hard truth. Sage of Pentacles reversed, crossed by 8 of Crystals. Crystals is the sword element in this reading. We have the 2 of Crystals now, so already more swords coming out and more repeating. 8 of Cups. Hanged Man. Tower again, also in reverse this time. 9 of Pentacles. Child of Wands. 4 of Cups reversed. Ace of Cups. 6 of Wands reversed. Woman of Pentacles. Strength again. And 2 of Wands reversed. Okay. So, what I feel is here is that this is very much a steep learning curve, and it is a very challenging time here for you. But what's happening is a bright illumination is happening for you to help you see where you need to step up in life, where certain old behaviors are no longer serving you, and there is a need for you to kind of realize through some perhaps testing and challenging situations where the ego needs to be tempered and put in check, right? And there is some stagnant energy that you may have allowed to go on for a little while that may be making this situation feel more difficult than it needs to be. But I think once you come through this one, this is a big one. I know that. I can feel that. This is a big one. I think once you come through this one, it'll be so it's such a major death and rebirth that's happening at this time that I feel like once you come through this cycle, you're going to be it's such an exponential shift in your, like a quantum leap in your development, that from the point of arrival that you'll come to after this experience will enable you to be much more high. Your higher mind is going to be so more greatly activated that you may not ever come to such an experience like this again, because you'll have such greater practice in what it is to be to own your responsibility and to take more active participation in your growth and evolving, that you won't allow this kind of stagnancy to kind of ever set in again, if that makes sense. But 2 2s coming out, and with the 2 again with the bottom of the deck with the Priestess here, I feel that, and seeing the Tower come out in reverse again, I feel that there's an element here of you needing to be, once again, a little bit more willing to choose to participate in the circumstances and not be passive and not try to avoid or deny what's happening here. There is a great need for you to really willingly participate and cooperate with what events are occurring in your own healing process, in your own evolving and developing. Some of that avoidance may be, again, just a little bit of like reluctance or hesitancy, because you're just like afraid of what's on the other side of it, or afraid of maybe looking at some of this old stuff. But as I mentioned in the previous reading, the pain that you're experiencing now is not really the pain of where you're going, it's the pain of where you've been. And it's because of perhaps your inability at the time to understand how to work with and process those emotions or that energy, that it just got kind of stored away and has been there for a little while. But this is the worst of it. It's better from here. If you just turn and face everything that you're dealing with right now and look at it and be able to transmute and alchemize it, from here on out, things will feel so much lighter and more brighter and hopeful. So if you are looking at this as like something that you have a choice in and you're choosing not to, that's only compounding the worst of it. Some of it is just, I mean, there was a couple of cups cards in the previous reading, and here again you have 8 of cups, 4 of cups, ace of cups. There is just like some more old emotional energy that needs to be processed and transmuted. In the previous reading, you had 5 of cups, 3 of cups, 8 of cups, and that's it. Yeah. So yeah, just some like old emotional energy, and it's not, you don't need to go through the pain of those old traumas again. You just need to acknowledge that they're there, and then they can be released. You can do it from a very objective place through this experience. You don't have to relive old traumas. That's, I think, what some of you might be trying to avoid here with these twos here. Like, you might be feeling like you don't want to choose to go into that pain again, but it's not about reliving old traumas. It's not about kind of hashing up old stuff. It's just about witnessing and acknowledge that it has been there and it is there, and that can help it actually be purged and released is just simply through acknowledging it and not kind of closing your eyes to the fact that those experiences occurred, those feelings were felt and then denied, right? Just be real and honest about things. What else is here? I feel with this 9 of Pentacles and 6 of Wands in reverse, there is a little bit of an element here of you maybe lacking in self-confidence in your ability to actually, go through this process. But I think it's important to say that you do, and you need to give yourself a little pep talk and give yourself that sort of internal support that's needed here. And a lot of what's going on here is very much a personal, individual, very private, very solo journey. Like, I feel a lot of you are going through this on your own, and you may not necessarily have, people to go through this with you. And that either way is fine. Either way works. You could opt for having someone to guide you through the process, but at the end of the day, you still have to be the one that makes the choice to want to heal. You have to choose your healing here. You have to choose life. You have to really choose life in the fullest possible sense of the word, not just choose the parts of life that you want to experience and avoid the rest. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, Priestess is at the bottom of the deck with the Page of Pentacles. There's the Emperor again in reverse, and the 9 of Swords also. We've had a lot of repeating cards again coming out here. So what this extended part of the reading is telling me is that with that very discerning, brutal truth of the Priestess, you can find a greater joy in life again and come back to a more... That's the thing about a lot of this. Like, it's kind of a serious and heavy reading, and the process is kind of like a deep and profound one. And it may feel really heavy and difficult and painful, but actually the place that you're able to get to is one where you come back to a sense of greater childlike fun and playfulness. Not that you're naive, but it's just about accessing a greater sense of playfulness and joy. And again, with this 9 of Swords, I feel like it's in this deck, the interpretation for me is a little different than the other reading. This is about using all of your facilities and your capacities and your resources to hyper focus on this process that's going on right now, to just push through and get it done. Avoiding it is just making it take longer and making it more drawn out. There's no avoiding of this. You actually want this. Like, if you really just tune into your higher self and the energy of your soul, your spirit wants this so much. It's your lower mind, the egoic mind that is trying to feel like if you can avoid pain by dodging some of this. It's not real. That's what the 7 of Cups is saying. That avoid the delusion of thinking that you can avoid what's going on here. It's just turn and face it, and you'll get through it much more quicker and painlessly than if you try to avoid facing the truth of the things that are showing up from the shadow, from the unconscious, that need to be looked at by you. And again, the Emperor showing up in reverse in this reading twice now. Really does feel like... Sorry, actually the Emperor was upright in the previous reading in reverse here. So this is telling me like the majority of what this is here about is about you coming into your fullest, most profound level of responsibility and empowerment, your empowered self. About you becoming self-actualized as the the cosmic, spiritual, like fully empowered entity, but here in the physical reality. This is about getting really real and really grounded about the fact that you are here on earth and your work is in this plane, and to be fully able to access all the capacities that you have already. There is some purging that needs to happen of places where there's been some stifled energy or stagnant energy or reluctant energy, or avoidant, skirting around, or suppressed energy. And that's basically, in a summary, what I can tell you here in this reading. So just checking over here, Virgo, but I feel like that's it for your reading. You are in a very deep and profoundly intense process right now. You have everything you need to work through it. Don't overcomplicate things. Just be honest. Be honest in every moment. Be brutally honest. And you will move through this as gracefully as can be if you just are completely honest. All right. I'll leave it there. It's an honor and a pleasure to read for you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next video.